back to the Watch List. I'm Nicole Petalides, live on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. A record day. Glad you're with us. We're talking about the ETF space because it's certainly a popular investment vehicle. We've seen plenty of inflows. Now what? What do we expect going forward, and what's been hot so far? Todd Rosenbluth is with us, head of research at VettaFi. Thank you so much. Right, I put head and Todd put them together and made Ted. So Todd, tell me more about the ETF popularity. There's no doubt every time we speak, we talk about some of the thematic investing. It's been a great year for stocks overall. Some of the themes of 2024.
Well, it's been a tremendous year for the ETF industry. We already have hit a calendar year record for ETF flows. We're at $980 billion. We're on the cusp of $1 trillion year, which is hard to imagine considering the US ETF industry is not even $11 trillion in size. We've seen a record for fixed income flows. We've seen a record for individual ETFs with the Vanguard 500 ETF, VOO, being popular. And you're right, we've seen a number of individual trends. Actively managed ETFs have been popular. Cryptocurrency ETFs have been popular. Happy to dive into some of those topics in particular.
Yeah, let's talk more about those, because the question too is whether or not those will be popular in 2025. I mean, crypto, let's start there, because people love talking about Bitcoin and having exposure to crypto in different ways. Tell me a little bit about how the ETF fits in for a crypto investor.
Right, so we had the first big spot Bitcoin ETFs launch in January of 2024. IBIT, which is the iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, is approaching $50 billion in overall assets. That's tremendous for an ETF. It's seen inflows throughout the year. We've seen success from Bitwise. We've seen success from Fidelity. VanEck has a zero fee for its existing spot Bitcoin ETF. But what's exciting to me is we're seeing innovation in the ETF marketplace. So we now have a covered call ETF. NEOS has that. That's the ticker is BTCI. Which has been gaining traction. And we have Calamos and Innovator among the firms that are filed to launch downside protection ETFs that offer exposure to Bitcoin. So for those investors that have been on the sidelines, that are thinking about moving off of zero within their portfolio, but feel like we've moved too far too fast, those ETFs or a covered call ETF from NEOS could be a good entry point to get exposure to Bitcoin in the ETF wrapper.
Yeah, the downside protection is a new innovation, right? Because people like that. They like being able to have a little bit of protection. You also noted some other things that are just newer that people covered call ETFs, right? People didn't know about these. I mean, we had Calamos on and talked about that introduction. It's exciting, right? Is this what people want?
That's right. So advisors, investors are more mindful of risk. They have been in 2024. We think they will continue to be in 2025. And so covered call products and downside protection ETFs. I mentioned NEOS, Calamos, Innovator. These are some of the firms that are focused primarily on this space. They have a wide range of products to help investors. But we've also seen investors focus on quality this year and the quality factor. So Victory Shares is one of those firms that we've identified as worth watching in 2024, and we think they're one to watch again in 2025. They have a free cash flow suite of ETFs. VFlow, the Victory Shares free cash flow ETF, launched just over a year ago. It's gathered over $1 billion in assets, and Victory Shares launched a free cash flow growth-oriented ETF earlier today. So they continue to innovate. We've seen Invesco, we've seen other firms lean into that quality attribute because investors want upside, but they want to manage some of that downside as well.
What are some of the projections for 2025? So if you have nearly $1 trillion in inflows into ETFs this year for 2024, when the total is $11 trillion, so I won't say it's a tenth, but it's a big portion that has come in 2024. So do you expect a big portion and maybe even larger in 2025?
We would hope to see acceleration in 2025. Now, obviously, some people are moving in to get exposure in the upside of the market. Equities have been very strong. the Fed has only first begun cutting interest rates. So we could see profit taking. And if you move out of equities and into something that doesn't appreciate as much, we still think it's going to be a great year. There's a lot of investors that are first getting to know and are educated about ETFs. And we find that when advisors, investors get initial exposure, they have a building block of the Vanguard 500, they're more likely to add on to that with a thematic ETF, with a sector ETF. They might move their mutual fund assets that are in fixed income into active fixed income, because we've seen growing traction from firms like Fidelity and T. Rowe Price and Capital Group in the active fixed income space. So we think 2025 is going to be another really strong year. $1 trillion, we'll see if that happens, but it'll be a great year.
Got it. And you also mentioned the fixed income ETFs are a great option as well. Todd Rosenbluth, great to see you, head of research over at Vedify. Thanks, Todd.